Under DORA, digital resilience is no longer just an IT problem. It's a boardroom responsibility. In this module, we'll clarify who is accountable for what, how roles and lines of defense should be structured, and how clear governance turns legal obligations into day-to-day practice. Under DORA, digital resilience is treated as a strategic business risk on the same level as capital, liquidity, or conduct. Boards and senior management must own the risk, not just approve budgets or delegate to CIOs and CISOs. They are expected to understand the ICT landscape, ask informed questions, and be able to justify their decisions to supervisors. You can outsource services, tools, even whole platforms. You cannot outsource accountability. If something critical fails, regulators will look first at the management body. DORA turns this into explicit board-level responsibility. The management body owns ICT risk, even when tasks are delegated to CIOs, CISOs, or external providers. It must set risk appetite, approve policies, allocate resources, and regularly challenge reports from risk and audit. This ultimate accountability also means liability. Regulators will ask what the management body knew, decided, and documented. For implementation projects, always ask, where is the management body decision and how is it evidenced? Digital operational resilience under DORA starts with conscious trade-offs. First, define your resilience strategy. Which services must stay available, what level of disruption is acceptable, and where you need the strongest protection and recovery. Next, translate that into ICT risk tolerance. Decide, in business terms, how much downtime, data loss, or degradation you are willing to accept. Finally, match those ambitions with concrete people and budget. If resilience targets and resources are out of balance, you either revise the strategy or increase investment. Competence is also a regulatory obligation. Management and key staff are expected to understand ICT risks well enough to question, challenge, and decide. That requires ongoing, role-specific training, not a one-off awareness session. Boards need insight into strategic impact and accountability. It needs technical depth. Risk and compliance must connect threats to controls and reporting duties. If something goes wrong, we didn't know, will not protect the firm or individuals. Your training program must track both DORA updates and the evolving threat landscape. Now let's look at how DORA expects governance to be organized. Think of it as a fortress around your critical functions, built on 3 lines of defense. The first line is ICT operations and the business. They own the systems, run the processes, and implement day-to-day controls. If something fails here, resilience is immediately at risk. The second line is risk and compliance. They challenge the design and operation of controls, define policies and limits, and monitor whether ICT risk stays within appetite. The third line, internal audit, independently checks whether the first 2 lines actually work in practice and reports weaknesses directly to the management body. The first line of defense is ICT operations and the business. These are the people who actually run the systems and processes day to day. They own the assets and the immediate risks. Their work is very hands-on, controlling access, running backups, applying patches, and keeping systems stable. They're also the ones who usually spot incidents first, trigger the initial response, and maintain accurate inventories of what the organization actually runs. The second line, risk and compliance, does not run the technology. It sets the rules and challenges how the first line manages ICT risk. This function designs and maintains the ICT risk management framework, checks whether DORA requirements are followed in practice, and escalates weaknesses and breaches to the management body. To be credible, it must stay independent from day-to-day operations with no conflicts of interest. The third line is internal audit, and under DORA, it provides truly independent assurance. Internal audit doesn't operate the controls and it doesn't design them. It tests and challenges them. It reviews ICT governance and control design, checks whether first and second line activities actually work in practice, and reports its conclusions directly to the audit committee or board without interference. Segregation of duties is one of DORA's core governance principles. Think of it as a hard wall between doing the work and checking the work. ICT operations design, build, and run the systems. That's the first line. A separate ICT risk or control function independently challenges those decisions. That's the second line. They use their own data, methods, and authority to provide an objective assessment. This separation avoids conflicts of interest, reduces blind spots, and stops teams from effectively marking their own homework on resilience and security. DORA expects your governance ecosystem to rest on a small set of core ICT policies. Together, these policies define how you manage risk, protect information, track assets, handle incidents, and keep the business running during disruption. Each policy must be written down, formally approved, actually used in day-to-day operations, and reviewed regularly to stay aligned with changing technology, threats, and regulatory expectations. Under DORA, asset management is the backbone of ICT risk management. You are expected to know exactly what you have, where it is, how critical it is, and who owns it. That means every server, database, SaaS tenant, network device, and business application has a clean, unique record. You then link each asset to the business process it supports and to its upstream and downstream dependencies. When an incident hits, this model lets you answer immediately. What's impacted, who to call, which customers are affected, and which controls must hold. Reporting under DORA should create a real feedback loop, not a one-way status update. Operations generate data: incidents, near misses, control failures, capacity issues. Oversight and risk teams convert that into insight: dashboards, KRIs, trend analysis, and clear incident summaries. From there, the management body makes decisions: adjust risk appetite, accept or reject specific risks, and allocate budget or staffing. Those decisions must flow back into operations as concrete actions and priorities. If any link in this loop is weak, digital operational resilience will stagnate. Governance is also expected to extend far beyond your own perimeter. Using cloud or other ICT providers doesn't move accountability. The management body still owns the risk. Third-party risk management must operate as an integrated capability, not a procurement checkbox. You need a clear TPRM strategy aligned with business objectives and risk appetite, a living register of all ICT arrangements with critical and important services clearly flagged, and structured, risk-based monitoring of critical providers, combining performance data, incident trends, audit results, and concentration risk into regular reporting for senior management. To close, DORA is not just an IT regulation, it's a governance reset. Operational resilience becomes a board-level responsibility, not something delegated and forgotten. Management must define the strategy, set risk appetite, and demand clear evidence that controls actually work. The 3 lines of defense give that structure. First line runs and secures services. Second line challenges and sets standards. Third line independently verifies. Policies, standards, and procedures then become your proof. If it isn't documented, it doesn't exist for a supervisor. And remember, the scope is enterprise-wide. Internal systems, critical processes, and every important ICT third party you depend on.